Welcome to episode 130 of Outside the Circle, a podcast dedicated to new and upcoming country artists, musicians, and songwriters. Today's guest will be Rebecca Correia. We'll get to her in a little bit, but first, I'm Ronnie, and here's Brian.
What's happening, man? Yeah, we are 5 years in 1 week, going strong.
Yeah. I guess let's just kind of start with that real quick. We have a great interview with Rebecca, so we don't want to. We want to get right to that because it was so much fun. But yeah, first and foremost, thank you to everybody that reached out in the last week, and especially last Friday with hitting 5 years. And yeah, we said at the end of this interview that this was the perfect one to make us excited for the next 5 years. So yeah, thank you to everybody that reached out, and this 5 years has been fun, and we're now a week into it.
Yeah, man. Otherwise, nothing really too crazy happening over here. I mean, you just got back from a hell of a Western trip, man.
Yeah, that was fun. I took 2 weeks prior to our release last week. I was away for 2 weeks. Flew into California, spent 6 days going up and down the coast there, then out to Vegas, Utah, the Grand Canyon, Wyoming, Denver, followed 6 hockey games, and got a lot of hockey in. So it was a good. I need a vacation from the vacation, but it was a great time, and a lot of cool parts of the country that we don't normally get to see.
Yeah, no, that's sick. Yeah, and the fact that you got to see some snow, that's badass. I'm a big snow guy, so
I was not. In that moment, I was not. The driving through Wyoming, it was a 6-hour drive from Park City, Utah to Cheyenne, Wyoming, and I saw all 4 seasons, and I saw the worst of those 4 seasons that I've ever seen in that 6 hours. So I am good for the snow for a while.
Yeah. Meanwhile, here in Jersey, we haven't had rain in like, I don't know, 3 months. It feels like, we're like the whole Northeast, or at least in this area, we're in a drought and fire restriction, all that type of stuff. So, no, I mean, other than that, man, it's been cool. I'm glad your trip was awesome. I'm glad you're back, and we're gonna still roll with this podcast thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, like I said, this was a great interview. We want to kind of just jump right into it, and we talked to Rebecca for a good amount of time here. So, yeah, let's just throw it on and get right to Rebecca. All right, everyone, we're here today with singer-songwriter Rebecca Correia. Welcome to Outside the Circle, Rebecca. Thanks for joining us today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. It's been a busy couple months for you, a bunch of singles kind of back to back here. So we'll definitely jump into that shortly, but we always like to start with the very generic basic, kind of tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how important music was in your household, kind of things like that.
Awesome. Yeah, I grew up in a little town in Massachusetts called Rochester, and it's a sleepy little town. I think we have, I don't know the current number, but I would say on either side of 4,000 people in that town. And we have no stoplights and a lot of farmland, family-oriented town. And my mother was a first grade teacher at the public schools, in the public school system there. She's retired now. And my dad is a semi-retired barber / hairstylist. And I grew up on a farm, almost 300-year-old farm, old colonial farm, about 25 miles west of Plymouth, Massachusetts, so Plymouth Rock. So very rich in history, and not much goes on in my town, but we're not too far from Boston. We're not too far from Cape Cod. We're not too far from Providence, and we are close to the islands of Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard. So I grew up in a very picturesque place near the ocean. I'm now in Nashville. I've been here for 17 years. I spent a lot of my summer months up in the Cape Cod area playing music, and for the year I'm here networking, writing, recording.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah.
I'm a big New Englander. I lived in I'm from northern New York, but I lived in Connecticut, Rhode Island area, and yeah, Massachusetts doesn't have the I guess stereotypical country setting. Like people don't think of Massachusetts as being a farmland at all. And but man, it's a big state, and yeah, you're right. I mean, I love New England so much. So we could sit here and talk New England for the rest of the time, and I'd be cool with it. But no, that's great. And yeah, you kind of forget too that people were settling in Massachusetts before Nashville was even or Tennessee was even a state. So
I know it's funny. When people talk history here, I'm like, oh, that's cute. Because like I said, the house I grew up in is almost 300 years old now. It was an old sea captain's home, and it's rich in history. We had the fireplaces in every single room. I mean, that's literally how they kept warm back in the day. So it was an interesting upbringing to experience that, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're based out of New Jersey. I'm born and raised in Jersey, but like Brian said, he's from New York, and yeah, as I was a history major and all that, so I love everything history and 13 colonies and all of that. So um, yeah, Massachusetts, I haven't spent a lot of time there, but I spent enough that I like it yeah, no, it's awesome up there.
It's
Um,
beautiful.
yeah. So growing up, kind of this tiny little town, like you said, no stoplight, a lot of farmland. Um, what was kind of like the music kind of surrounding all that? Like, was it country music at that time, or was it stuff coming out of Boston?
Not really. In my memory, I was hearing a lot of things on the airwaves with Fun 107, which was a lot of pop, like New Kids on the Block, R&B stuff that was happening. So I grew up on that, a lot of Whitney Houston, and then in the 90s when that wave of country music came through, that's when I discovered like Tim McGraw and Reba and just Winona. It was like, wow, what the heck is this? And I never thought I would be into that music. But my sister at the time was spending a lot of time in the South. She rides horses, and she'd be down there a lot, and so she'd kind of like funnel this music towards us, and it was pretty cool to get to know it, because I am a music lover. It doesn't matter what kind of music it is. If the delivery is done well and the story and the song is strong, then I'm gonna enjoy it. So yeah, it was kind of like along my journey that I discovered the country music vein of things.
yeah, 90s country was like the hook for getting, country music into like, I don't know, mainstream ears and stuff, because you didn't have to be country music fan, and the change in the music in the 90s was so drastic. That's when the whole rocking thing happened. You still had your fiddle and steel, but it was a little different sounding. It was more like in your face, jumping on stage type of stuff than just hiding behind a microphone. So yeah, it was huge to just collect, and that '90s boom was amazing. And we still,
Yeah.
I still long for '90s country.
Yeah, it was super inspiring. It was like, what is this? Yes, I'm into this. And it was funny because it was the juxtaposition of like, hearing Nirvana and Chris Cornell and Hole and Alanis Morissette, all that 90s music that was happening. It was like it was a little bit of everything, which was really special and cool.
Yeah, that's the stuff that I grew up on, the grunge, the punk, the metal. So it wasn't until I met Brian that country even like became a thing in my brain. But he introduced me to the 90s, and here we are. So
Yeah,
um,
it looks like you both play music, right? Looks like you dabble.
That's ended up how we ended up meeting. He answered a Craigslist
yeah,
post for a bass player for a band I was starting, and yeah, we've been friends ever since. We
I
don't play
love that.
we don't play music anymore. But
yeah. We don't play. It's
But you're
just for
still into
decoration.
it.
Yeah.
Still into it. I spent a lot of time, in the New York City scene. A lot of shows at the Bitter End, which is one of my favorite rooms of all time. I'm overdue for going for a visit up there for sure.
Yes. And you when you're there, let us know. We will 100% be there. We're only, I don't know, maybe a half hour from New York City, 40 minutes maybe. So we're only a train car away to get there. Um,
Nice.
so you kind of mentioned that 90s sound had that inspiration to like kind of drive in that way. What was kind of when did you know that like music was going to be the thing that you were going to make a career? Like were you playing growing up? That I know you mentioned your mom being a teacher and your dad being a barber and all that. Like were they playing? Like what got you interested in actually like sitting and playing music?
Yeah, my mother, as an educator, really encouraged us to kind of dabble in whatever things that we were interested in, and test the waters. And I started piano lessons when I was in kindergarten, and I just really gravitated towards it. Really enjoyed it. My dad did musical theater back in his day, and he also is a drummer. And my mom, being a first grade teacher, she would sing a lot of nursery rhymes, which is really important in developing music skills. I went on to get my degree in music education at the Hart School of Music in Hartford, West Hartford, Connecticut. So there, I really learned that that's part of why I understood music the way I did, because my mother was giving me these core songs early on. And yeah, I took the ball and ran with it. In fourth grade, I wrote my first song, and then sixth grade, I learned guitar. My choir sang one of the little ditties that I made back up in the day, and just went on to follow it, be in chorus, be in band, connect with other people. Played in bands when I was in high school, and it just carried on. So I was one of the lucky people that early on I knew, like, I'm going to do music, whatever that meant at the time. I'm going to play music. I'm going to write music. I'm going to, share my knowledge of music with people. And so I was fortunate to know, like, without a doubt, I'm going in that direction early on. I had a lot of friends that were like, in their 20s still trying to figure out, like, where I don't know what I want to do yet, and I was really lucky, and I'm grateful that it was clear for me, so I could just hit the ground running early on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And especially, having, I mean, what am I, 37, and I don't even know what I want to do still. So, so,
Well,
so
you're doing
to
it.
know early, yeah,
You guys are
I'm
doing
doing it.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. But to kind of have that, and it sounds like, having the support from your parents too sounds like that was always there with you know, not even just the nursery rhyme stuff, but also as you continued to go through high school and get more and more involved. Um, yeah, that's awesome. A lot of times you hear that parents aren't so, oh, go get a real job or whatever, but it sounds like you were pretty set and they knew it and they let you run with it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they really encouraged following your dreams. And I have friends that had the opposite experience and they still thrived. So I think sometimes it can be the thing that really drives people, that, oh, you told me I couldn't do it, so I'm going to do it. But for me, I just was clear about my path early on, and, have followed it ever since. And I always joke that I'm like, well, considering how early I started doing this, I'd be at retirement now if it worked that way with music. But it's one of those things that you do, I'll take my last breath on stage or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And yeah, hopefully that is the case. Hopefully, it's not anytime soon that you find it coming to an end and you just keep going. And yeah, and that's the beauty of music too, right? Like you look at like athletes, right? They got a short lifespan. Music, it doesn't matter. We're playing well into whatever, right? As long as you're still up, you can play, right? So
Yeah.
um yeah. So you mentioned, I want to kind of transition into songwriting then. So you mentioned that you wrote your first song pretty early there. I always like to dig into that. Do you remember what that first song was about, or what that first song was?
Yeah, there was a family member that passed away, and I sat down and wrote maybe like a 60-second long, melody with some chords behind it. There wasn't a lot of structure per se to it at the time, but it was just a concept of expressing what I was feeling at the time. And it seemed to help me, and it also seemed to help other people around me, family members. And I just said, well, this is really cool way to connect with other people and to get through whatever challenges, good or bad, happy, sad, funny. It was just a great way to express myself. So I started just doing that consistently. And as the years went by, it started to gain more form, and just listening to like record after record. One of the first ones that I had experience with was a record by Beth Nielsen Chapman. And that was my first experience listening to, 12, 13 track record that had all these storylines in it, all these vignettes of life. And it captivated me. And I'm like, this is what I want to do. Like, this is really cool to be able to have this hour-long experience with people and share my thoughts. And the songwriting on that record was just so brilliant, that it blew my mind. So I just started listening to record after record, top to bottom, no matter what style it was, every single genre, of just taking it in and learning and understanding what the form was and how they were piecing together their storyline, and the chord structure of songs and the melodic structure of songs. And my songs started to take more form as that was happening, through like junior high and high school. And I'd perform them out, do open mics. I'd be in Boston at, one of the legendary open mics and venues is a place called Club Passim. And they're technically in Cambridge, but they still, if I am remembering, they still have a Tuesday night open mic. And sometimes you'd get there and maybe you'd be a 13th on the list, maybe you'd be 20 on the list, and it was a Tuesday night, so I was still in school. So I'd go, and sometimes we wouldn't get done until 10 or 11 at night. And then I drive home, with usually my father was with me, and drive home and go to school the next day, that sort of thing. So I got really used to being patient, listening to everyone's artistries and their stories, and honoring start to finish what was happening. And then I started, as I got older, started opening for different artists. I sort of reach out to the club or to whoever I could get in contact with and say, I'd like to open. And I started building a roster of artists that I opened for, everyone from Sean Colvin to Vance Gilbert, to Melissa Ferrick. Just a ton of names that were in the folk pop, what maybe people would now consider Americana. And I just did it by myself, guitar in hand. Sometimes I bring my keyboard, or if the venue had a piano, I would play their piano, and just built a roster of venues and a list of names, notable names that helped me cut my teeth on, my experience watching them do their craft and how they told their stories, how they used their time on stage was really helpful for me.
Yeah, I think that this approach too, it's definitely showcasing your passion to music and your passion to learning the craft, but also that education through exposure, just like always listening to something, always being involved in it, always, going to shows. Again, with your dad, taking you to, I remember like being in hockey, and, hockey kids and hockey parents know it, like, 4 a.m., wake ups for 6 a.m. skates and stuff. Same type of thing, right? That passion is there. And, but yeah, that's super cool. And I like that, that take on, if I'm going to learn music, I got to listen to music. So I'm going to listen to everything I possibly can and get every little, trick out of the album and stuff. So yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah. Every little nugget that I could get, I, took it on. And I had music lessons. So I read, music minimally. I wasn't a strong reader until I got to college, and I actually had to do it to pass the classes, and did a lot of sight reading and whatnot. And I understood a lot about it. And until I got to college, I really was doing much of it from ear. And then when I got to college and started actually having to learn it fully in order to graduate. It was basically just putting a name with the things that I already understood, the things that my ear already heard. And that helped me navigate in, I wouldn't say cut corners, but get to the result a lot sooner. Once I figured out what kind of things generally don't work and what things do work, or what things are worth trying and what things are not worth trying. But there was also a really cool element to almost just be throwing darts when I was younger, So I learned a lot in that respect as well. So I have an open mind to musicians learning, whether it is, from written music, from charts, from their ear. I think it's really, really important. And I have a group of students that I teach right now, anywhere from 5 to 60-year-old people that I teach. And I try to give them a little bit of everything. I can give them the basics of reading, but then I try to get them to hear things and, learn chord structures on their own, so that, it doesn't matter where you're going with this. If you want to sit by the bonfire, or if you want to express your feeling via journalism, of a song, you can do that. I try to give them the basic necessities to do that. And I have a few students that, I taught over the years for a long, long time off and on. And some of my students now are singer-songwriters and they're doing it. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty cool, to see the next generation going for it,
Yeah, that's gotta be cool to, one, teaching yourself that, or being a teacher yourself that's also gotta help you continue to grow too, right? Like you're still learning new things, the things you may have known over the years. Now you're sitting down with somebody else and learning a new way to present that, or just in those just in that vein of things, which isn't surprising with your mom being a teacher and going back to all that you definitely have that within you. I wanted to, so funny story, you mentioned sight reading and all of that. I could sit and read music perfectly, but I cannot translate it to the actual like music, like the instruments, or it's wild. I could sit and tell you everything that's on that page, but I can't do it. But I really wanted to talk about, kind of going all the way back to the beginning of that first song, and the topical side of that, the content of that, knowing, we hear often like, oh, I had a crush on a boy or a girl, and this, and whatever. The fact that I guess the content, the topic is a little deeper, and that really showed, or shows now, seeing like this is obviously something you were going to be doing. Like you understood like you said, you got to see how people reacted to it, and like, oh, we could communicate through this language of music. And yeah, I find that I write myself, not music, but like I've written like screenplays over the year. I've written a couple of poetry books that I've published, and but I can go all the way back to when I was 7. I wrote a play for me and my cousin to put on to our family, and it was a deeper conversation, a deeper like, but at 7, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew this topic, and having that has always, like, I think if I started with something kind of cliche, then it might not have taken off like the way it did for me. So no, I love that you were always thinking deeper, I guess, at the end of the day, right? So whether it's with the teaching or the writing or the content or the no, that's yeah, you're clearly doing what you're meant to be doing.
Yeah, for sure. Like my passion and my direction in life, my purpose in life was like clear. It was like, this is how I heal myself. And then in the process, I'm helping heal other people, and I'm like, this is cool. I like this. I like doing this. And I think many of us some of us can really tap into that, and I think it's clear for people that haven't. You have to follow that, because it's like, it's bigger than that. It's a spiritual thing, a universal thing, a very purposeful thing that we're meant to help other people while we're here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's kind of fast forward all the way to now. So you recently, within the last couple of weeks, just put out your newest single. So let's go ahead, take our break, and put it on, and then we'll come back and talk about that and everything else that's been going on past couple of months for you. So you want to go ahead and introduce it for us, and we'll throw it out for you.
Yeah, my latest single off my upcoming record, Flying, is a song called One That Got Away. And it is an angsty sort of song, a song about frustration, and when a person is disrespected and they realize that they're in the situation that they're in, and they empower themselves to walk away and find their own self-respect and self-worth. That's essentially what this song is all about.
Say that you missed me as you sprinkle your insults like confetti at my shoes. I must have misheard you. Please come again. I could have sworn you said something rude. Sticks and stones may break my bones, you can't hurt me. I'm bulletproof and so much more than worthy. I'm not gonna wait, I don't wanna waste another night. Right into the sun, no one's hired gun, I am through. You won't forget my name, 'cause I'm clean slated and straight faced, the one that got away. You ask if I am even ready, as if this is my first rodeo with the bronco like you. Said you'd let me be in charge, but with an ego that large, it's simply just not true. You're broken and your ugliness is showing, but I'm not the one who inflicted your wound. I'm not gonna wait, I don't wanna waste another night. Right into the sun, no one's hired gun, I am through. But you won't forget my name, 'cause I'm clean slated and straight faced, the one that got away. I don't wanna waste another night. Hey! Right into the sun, no one's hired gun, I am through. But you won't forget my name, 'cause I'm clean slated and straight faced. You won't forget my name, clean slated and straight faced, the one that got away.
right, so let's talk about One That Got Away. You kind of gave us a little intro to it before we went into it, but kind of what was the inspiration behind that song and ultimately putting it out as your newest single?
Yeah, it's actually been in my collection for a while. It's something that happened in the past of my life, and just a relationship that didn't work out. And like I said, I had it in my back pocket for some time, and had some visions about what might sound like if I produced it, or it was produced. And I brought it to Casey Wasner, who is my producer on this record, and I showed him a group of songs, and he really this was one that he responded to, and we had this sort of old Western vision for it, horse running, which in the end I ended up the music video is me riding a bareback on a horse in Tennessee, and essentially we got this incredible band together. I had a vision for what I thought it was going to sound like, and Casey took it in a very different direction. And at first I was like, whoa, like this is not what I thought it was going to be. Is this going to work? And I had to like sit with it and be with it for a little bit. And, he was right on the money of the direction that it went in, and features an incredible band: Michael Hicks on keys, Terrence Clark on drums, Steve Mackey on bass, and Nate Duggar on guitar. And then also features background vocals by Lily May and fiddle by Lily May as well. So it's a really vibey, different tune.
Yeah, no, I'm glad that you said that. 'Cause here on my notes, I always talk about the production side of everything. And it has that like nostalgic feel, like it has that feeling of being like an old song, and I love that the guitar tone, that whining guitar tone that's happening, killer. And then I love that background, that like group call out too. That like it's one of those things where in a slow song you can kind of lose yourself in what's going on, and then that callback is like, okay, wait a minute, yeah, we're still. Yeah.
Well, it's funny because like originally I heard it more, not that it's not upbeat, but maybe more different tempo, and maybe this horse beat footstep sort of thing, hoofs going on the floor type of thing. And he took it in a totally different direction, and I had that vision of the hey thing happening in it, but I'm like, is this still going to work with a ballad or something that's like slow tempo like this? And he's like, no, go with it. And it really is this like unique thing that came out of it. But he definitely had to coach me into it, because I was like, I don't know, this feels like it's breaking some rules in my mind. And he's like, just go with it. I mean, he's a drummer. Casey's a drummer himself, so he's brilliant. So I just had to trust him. But he and I had a lot of laughs, and there was a lot of emotion going on, and we were, button heads. We had just the right amount of pull and tug going on, working together. So.
Yeah, that's great, and that's really what you want in a producer too, right? To kind of push those comfort zones. Not too much to push you into an area that you don't like what's happening, but enough to like pull you out of your comfort zone and be like, okay, yeah, I kind of like this space too, Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love hearing that work between producer and artist is fun.
Absolutely. I have huge respect for him. He's an incredible artist on his own, and multi-instrumentalist, incredible engineer. His Grammy Award for production and engineering for a record he did with Keb Mo, and he's Keb Mo's MD, so he plays drums for Keb as well. So yeah, he's like our generation's Steely Dan, and he's super humble about it, but he is the coolest musician. So if you get a chance to see Casey Wasner in concert, if he ever plays again, I'm calling him out on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, let's get him out playing. But yeah. So like, as Brian likes to talk about the production side of things, I always like to talk about the content side and the lyrical side. And I guess that's the writer side of me that likes to focus on that stuff. What I love about this song, I feel like this idea of One That Got Away has been something that I've been focusing on, or something that's been in my realm, I guess, the last couple months. Unfortunately, fortunately, depending on who you asked, at the beginning of the year, I ended up getting divorced, and for a long time, I kept saying, like this really sucks. Like she's the one that got away, blah 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 blah. And then through many months of therapy and all of that,
Yay,
now,
therapy.
yes, big advocate of that around here.
Same,
But
same.
now, and it's funny. So I recently released my second book of poetry about 2 months ago now, give or take. And
Right.
the dedication page is just says the one that got away, but in Italian. And I told my
Hmm.
therapist like probably about 3 weeks ago, I said, if I can go back and change that, it would be I'm the one that got away, the one that you let get away. So,
Yeah.
so I feel like this topic has been following me for quite a while, and I love it. I'm a hopeless romantic. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I like that. This is that frustration, like you mentioned, that I love everything about the just the way this makes me feel.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that. It was funny because I in hindsight looking back, it reminds me of the vibe of the personality that was going on for Jagged Little Pill, Alanis Morissette. It's that type of angst, and I kept feeling a bit guilty for being, I'm like, is this kind of snarky? Is this kind of, like low? But I know it was the moment that I was in the moment that I needed to go through in order to get to the other side. And I think when you get to the bridge of the song where it says, I'll say a prayer for you. There's nothing I can do. Like that's the letting go of it, the part where you're entering peace again with the whole situation. So yeah, oh man, life and love is really hard.
Yes. Yeah. But it all leads us to where we need to be, and we're supposed to be. So, and that for you was this single and getting this out there. You mentioned that it's on your upcoming record, Flying. Would that also include your other recent singles? Like I said, you've had a busy couple months here. Speak to a Girl. Actually, both of these other singles had some features on it. Speak to a Girl had Shy Carter
Mhm.
and Rose Colored Glasses with Lily May, who you mentioned before. Um, are these two also on Flying? Like what is Flying gonna give us a sneak peek of what Flying is gonna look like?
Yeah, Flying is a 5-song EP. Speak to a Girl is featured on it. The Rose Colored Glasses isn't. It was a separate project that we started, and when we discussed Casey Wasner, the producer, and I discussed it, we really wanted the EP to be like a simultaneous, just the same band members all the way through, so that it had a fluid feel to it. And they do all fit together. And Rose Colored Glasses is like a total, like perfect prep for the storyline of what happens in Flying. But when I did a Kickstarter back in February to raise money to make the record, and my fans were able to help me raise $23,000 to make the record. And at the time, I promised them I had 2 singles that I had accomplished, and 2 music videos that I had. I said, well, while you're waiting for the record to come out for us to record it, to get everything ready for it, the promotion for it and videos, I promise I'll have some things while you're waiting. So I put out a song and a video called Soul Survivor, which came out in March. And then Lily and I put out this Rose Colored Glasses in September. And Lily was one of the very first people I met when I came to Nashville. She and her family, she was 16 at the time, and her family played and still plays at Layla's on Broadway. And so I would go, I was working downtown at the time, and when I'd get out of my shift, I would go and I'd go listen to them play. And I just really always connected with every single one of the family members, because every single one of them is absolutely brilliant, incredible musicians. And Lily really touched my heart, and our friendship grew over the years. They at one point when they were on Arista Nashville, that record label, they were on tour and they were coming through and they had an empty date. And I said, okay, well, you're going to come to the farm. We're going to put a stage together. We're going to fill that date for you and get you some revenue for that night. And so I was lucky enough to have them there. And we've just cultivated that friendship throughout the years. And I knew that with that particular song, that she would be able to tell and carry the message really well for me. So she agreed to record on it and sang, and we made the video, and it was really special because her daughter, Aberdeen, she was only, I think, a year and a half at that time, maybe almost 2 years old when we recorded it. So she was there in the studio, and Casey and Lily and I were just passing her around during like the sessions, each taking turns. And then, so super proud of how that turned out, and how we got to share that message and that moment together as women in the industry. We're here, but there's not as many of us as there are men. And so it was really special for us to be able to like share that strong moment together. And then, running into different musicians over the course of time. I was playing a show in New York City at the Cutting Room, and I was like one of the feature artists. There was 4 of us, I think, featured that night. And I got off the stage, and this gentleman came over to me and started talking. We really were connecting. We had a lot of similar tastes, and he was complimentary about my music. And then he humbly mentioned that he had some hit songs and some cuts with some people. And he mentioned a song called "Speak to a Girl." So it was Shy Carter that came up to me in New York City, and I was blown away because that song, when it hit the airwaves in 2017, Tim McGraw and Faith Hill sang it, and it just was such a profound message. It struck me. It was like everything I wanted to say and felt like a song that I wanted to write that I never did, but I didn't have to because it existed, And so that really brought us closer together, that connection of that song. And not very long after that, Shai moved to Nashville, to Leapers Fork, actually, where I live. And he doesn't live there now, but he's around. But we just stayed in touch, and we'd sometimes at live shows play that song together, and just kept threatening that we'd record it. And I finally just said, we have to do this. Like, I really want this to be on this record. Something is just driving me, and it felt so right. I felt like in 2017, people were not quite ready for that message. And I think it's so poignant now, no matter where you stand, just the respect for women and all that we've gone through and the challenges that we face. And I was like, we've got to do this. It's boiling inside of me. We need to share this message. And this song is so important to me and him as well. So it was a dream come true to record it with him and put it out. So I'm just so glad it's out there for the world to hear.
Yeah. So I kind of want to stay on that topic of women in the music industry. That's something that we have touched on a lot over the years in this podcast. We're actually, what's today, November 4th. So November 1st was our 5-year anniversary, and our second episode, that was probably the biggest topic we've ever talked about in the 5 years. So, yes, it is very important that we know, and I mean, we as the collective of listeners, that we know that women are here, right? Like there's so much in this industry that people are overlooking, I guess. We just happen to be talking about Lily May and your, connection with her. But, let's give her the shout out at the moment too, right? She's gone on to do some big things herself. I think if I'm not mistaken, she's currently playing with Post Malone on his tour. So like, I guess no pun intended, but if we take off the rose colored glasses, right? Like we see that like this industry is so, there are so many women in it that we don't give the credit or time of day or, so I think that, One, Speak to a Girl definitely flows now, and it perfectly, yes, now is the time for it, right? Like you said, it might not have been then, or it might not have hit the way it should have then. But yeah, I mean, I will 100% always stand behind the fact that we don't do this because of just the men, right? Like music for in any genre. Like I said, I grew up in the punk world, and that was so male driven
Mhm.
that like I see now 20 years later how hard it is for women to still break into that. And I think I'd like to think that country and like Americana and folk and indie, like I feel like it's a little more accepting than some other genres, but um yeah, I think you're doing it right with these songs and with the people you're meeting along the way. And um
Yeah, it's
yeah,
very authentic.
yeah,
It feels like there's people that I completely respect with all my heart, and Lily has inspired me from day one. Working with Post, and she was also before then working with Jack White and on his label. So she's just blown me away, and uh, Shai's heart and his soul for the things that matter, and the underdogs and the people that are in the corners that don't always get the spotlight they should. We've just always connected in that way, so it feels so authentic to the point. I'm like, well, I don't care, the people that don't maybe understand or resonate with it. Like, I just know that I need to spread these messages, and with these people that I really feel a kinship with.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, we've always talked about that too, right? We'd rather have like 10 hardcore listeners versus 1,000 to 1,000,000 people that could care less but just follow you, you know? So like that message of authenticity, I think, speaks louder than just trying to sell records, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I always used to say that when I was younger. Like, it doesn't matter if there's 10 people, it doesn't matter if there's 100 people, if there's a million people. Granted, if there's a million people, well, how many lights I'm able to shine is a little different. But, the point is to authentically connect with those 10 people, those 100 people, those a million people. So, it just feels like this is like a dream record for me, like the people that I'm getting to work with, and the people that showed up for it, my fans that showed up for it, across the board. And, the special guests that I have on the record, even still to come, are like, it's just like, what? Like I'm, squinting, in the studio, like, I can't believe that person is standing right here. I would have never thought that would happen. So, I'm really proud of it.
yeah. No, that's awesome. And hopefully, we just said, selling 10 records is better than whatever, but hopefully those million records get sold here for Flying. And we kind of want to start closing up a little bit. Normally we start talking about what you have coming on down the line, and anything you want to touch on. Flying is, we obviously been talking about that. Is there a I guess like a street date yet on that, or is everything still kind of working its way towards that?
Yeah, it's November 15th. It's coming out. So, been working on it for a long time. I have a small but mighty team that's helping me make it happen. November 15th, the 5 songs will come out, and we have a couple more lyric videos that are coming as well. So, some artists, they'll plan a CD release or an album release and a tour, and I am like wearing a lot of hats, and that one woman show. So I'm focusing on just promoting it and sharing the music part of it first, and then I'm like, I'll plan that. It'll be like an album wrap or something like that, and then I've just started booking a lot of things for 2025. So I'll definitely be up north. I do that every summer, where I have a lot of shows that wineries and go to Nantucket usually for a stint. So I'll be up there for sure playing. So everyone's like, well, where are the tour dates? I'm like, we'll get to that. I'll surprise you down the line. But yeah, just to be I'm really grateful to just still be in the game and still being able to make my music and make my living on my music. Like I said, I teach as well, but no matter what, I'm always doing something that's involved in music, and that was always my goal since I was little, is just to be able to do it, you know. So I'm glad that people will get to share this experience, continue to get to share this experience with me.
No, and along the same lines, I can't wait for this album to come out. I'm already a fan of you and the music, and yeah, I'm really excited for it. But Rebecca, if you don't mind, let the listeners know where they can find you, where they can follow along, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. You can find all the goods at RebeccaCorreia.com. That's RebeccaCorreia.com. If you forget how to spell it, it's EIEIA. That's what we tell people. But even if you spell me wrong, it'll likely suggest me because I've been around for a long time. And my TikTok is Rebecca Correia Sings. My Instagram is Rebecca Correia, and my Facebook is Rebecca Correia Music.
Awesome. All right. Well, Rebecca, we can't thank you enough for joining us. And it is clearly evident in talking with you that, back in when you were 4, 5, 6 years old, you made the right choice. So we're very excited to follow along. And like Brian said, I'll piggyback the getting ready for the album here, and then just kind of watching what happens going forward, and can't wait to see it all come together for you.
Thank you, Ronnie. Thank you, Brian. It was great chatting with you.
All right, so that was our interview with Rebecca Correia, and we mentioned in the top, we mentioned in the interview, and after the interview, just talking to her off record or off recording. I was such a fun interview, so cool. So, we always talk about authenticity, but couple that with having the right mindset and a good head on your shoulders, and understanding from a very young age that there was no plan B, and the things she's doing to keep herself occupied in music, and whether it's teaching, she's got that mom teacher background. So yeah, it was really cool talking to her, and we kind of dove into things that I don't think we have before, and kind of saw a different side of how this industry works.
Yeah, no, you're right. And everything you said, the attention to detail with the passion that she has for the art of music, that being the songwriting, the recording, the playing, all of it, was, we could see that in that interview and talking with her, and, the woman power movement too, I think is really huge. She was telling a story of, passing a 1-year-old around the studio. There's not too many dads or dudes that are doing that, and are still getting the grind in and still getting that recording done and stuff. So tons of respect, being a dad of 2. I can see where that can get hectic quick. So yeah, ton of respect for her. And I'm really excited for this record.
Yeah. So we're about a week away from the release of the 5-song project here, Flying. So once you're done listening to this episode, this interview, make sure you head over to all of her stuff, and do the typical Spotify follow, pre-save, all that, depending on what platform you're using, what they each call it. But yeah, this is going to be a hell of a record, and we heard one of the songs. We're going to hear another one here, and I can only imagine the way she talks about what the rest of this record is going to be. These other 3 songs are going to be, yeah, I don't even have words for it, because I know it's going to be better than anything I could possibly say.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we definitely want to thank Rebecca for coming on Outside the Circle. Make sure you head over and follow her on all of her social media, music listening platforms. We'll leave you today with another track from Rebecca Correia featuring Shy Carter, Speak to a Girl.
She don't give a damn about your Benjamin Franklins. She wants Aretha. She don't really care how you're spending your money. It's all how you treat her. She just wants a friend to be there when she opens her eyes in the morning. She just wants you to say what you mean and to mean everything that you're saying. 'Cause that's how you talk to a woman. That's how you speak to a girl. That's how you get with a lady who's worth more than anything in your whole world. You better respect your mama. Respect the hell out of her. 'Cause that's how you talk to a woman. That's how you speak to a girl.
She don't give a damn about your pride or the lies that you're hiding behind. She just wanna feel that you're real, that she's near to the man that's inside. She don't need to hear she's a queen on the throne, that she's more than amazing. She just wants you to say what you need and to mean everything that you're saying. 'Cause that's how you talk to a woman. That's how you speak to a girl. That's how you get with a lady who's worth more than anything in your whole world. You better respect your mama. Respect the hell out of her. 'Cause that's how you talk to a woman. And that's how you speak to a girl.
That's how you speak to her. That's how you speak to her.
'Cause that's how you talk to a woman. That's how you speak to a girl. That's how you get with a lady who's worth more than anything in this whole world.
You better respect your mama. Respect the hell out of her.
Oh, respect your mama.
That's how you talk to a woman. That's how you speak to a girl. 'Cause that's how you talk to a
That's how you
woman.
talk to a woman.
That's how you speak to a girl.